The massive viewing screen aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel *Peace*, lit up with strange symbols as Captain Tom Miller stood watching, his heart beating faster than usual. After 3 months of following the mysterious signal through deep space, they had finally made contact with an alien civilization. "They're responding to our greeting message," announced Jack, the ship's communications officer. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing control panel as he worked to decode the incoming transmission. The bridge crew held their breath. This wasn't humanity's first contact with alien life, but it was perhaps their most important. The civilization they had discovered showed signs of being far more advanced than Earth, with technology that seemed almost magical to human sensors. The alien symbols on screen suddenly transformed into English text. "Unknown vessel, you have entered space belonging to the Bright Ones. State your purpose." Tom stepped forward, straightening his dark blue diplomatic uniform. "Send our prepared response," he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in the air. The message they had carefully crafted over many weeks went out. "We are peaceful explorers from Earth, seeking friendship and knowledge among the stars. We request permission to meet in person and establish diplomatic relations." Minutes passed like hours as they waited. The ship's engines hummed softly in the background. Finally, new text appeared. "Permission granted. Follow the guidance beacon to our primary station." A soft blue light appeared outside their ship, pulsing gently like a distant star. As they followed it, a massive structure came into view, a space station that looked like crystal and light woven together into impossible shapes. It was beautiful in a way that made several crew members gasp. The docking procedure went smoothly, almost as if their ships had been designed to work together. Tom led the small diplomatic team through the airlock, carrying gifts from Earth, books, art, and music stored on special devices. They were met by 3 aliens. The Bright Ones lived up to their name. Their skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and their tall, graceful bodies moved with unusual smoothness. But it was their eyes that caught Tom's attention, large, deep, and filled with something that looked very much like wisdom. The alien in the center stepped forward. "I am Lyra, chief diplomat of the Bright Ones." Her voice came through their translators with surprising clarity. "Welcome to Station Lightheart." Tom bowed slightly, following the protocol their xenologists had suggested. "I am Tom Miller, representing the United Earth Government. We are honored by your welcome." As they walked through the station's corridors, Tom noticed how Lyra watched them with intense curiosity. She seemed especially interested in their facial expressions, tilting her head slightly whenever someone smiled or frowned. "Your kind shows emotions so openly," she said during a quiet moment. "It is different from our way." "Is that a problem?" Tom asked carefully. Lyra's skin flickered with patterns of light, an expression they didn't yet understand. "Different does not mean wrong. It means there is much to learn from each other." The first meeting lasted 3 hours, during which both sides shared basic information about their cultures and histories. The Bright Ones were older than human civilization by thousands of years, but they seemed genuinely interested in Earth's achievements and art. As the meeting ended, Lyra did something unexpected. She reached out and almost touched Tom's hand before pulling back, a gesture that seemed to surprise even her fellow Bright Ones. "We have met many species in our time among the stars," she said, her voice carrying a new tone, "but none quite like yours. I believe this meeting will change both our peoples in ways we cannot yet imagine." Tom left the station that day feeling both excited and nervous. First contact had gone well, but he had seen something in Lyra's eyes, a mix of hope and fear that made him wonder what secrets the Bright Ones held and what the future might bring for both their species. 2 weeks had passed since the first meeting, and the station's observation deck had become Tom's favorite place to work. He sat there now, surrounded by stars, reviewing cultural exchange proposals on his tablet. The soft blue light from the station's walls made the scene feel almost magical. Lyra entered the room, her skin glowing with gentle patterns that Tom was slowly learning to read. Today's pattern suggested she was in a good mood. "You enjoy the stars," she said, taking the seat across from him. It wasn't a question. "They remind me of home," Tom replied, setting down his tablet. "Even though Earth is light years away, the stars make the distance feel smaller somehow." Lyra's skin flickered with a new pattern. Curiosity, Tom guessed. "Your species has such interesting ways of describing feelings. We bright ones tend to be more—" She paused, searching for the right word. "Direct." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden burst of laughter from down the corridor. A group of human crew members was showing some of the younger bright ones how to play cards. The alien skin lit up with confused patterns as they tried to understand the concept of bluffing. "I still don't understand how lying can be entertaining," one young bright one said, his skin pulsing with puzzlement. "It's not really lying," explained Maria, one of the human crew. "It's more like telling stories with your face. See?" She demonstrated an exaggerated poker face, making the bright one's lights dance with amusement. Lyra watched the scene with intense interest. "Your crew has been here only 2 weeks, yet they'd brought so much life to our station. Before you came, we didn't hear laughter in these corridors." "Don't your people laugh?" Tom asked carefully. "We feel joy," Lyra explained, her skin shimmering. "But we express it differently, through light patterns, through music, through mathematical equations. Your way is more." She gestured at the card players. "Free." Tom noticed something in her voice, a hint of longing, perhaps. He decided to take a risk. "Would you like to learn how to laugh?" Lyra's skin suddenly blazed with bright patterns Tom had never seen before. "Is that possible?" "Why not? We're learning to read your light patterns. Maybe you can learn our ways too." Over the next hour, Tom tried to teach Lyra about human humor. He told her simple jokes, explained puns, and demonstrated different types of laughter. At first, she just watched with scientific curiosity, but then something amazing happened. Tom told her about the time he accidentally wore his uniform inside out during an important meeting, and a small, unexpected sound escaped her, something between a chime and a giggle. Her skin lit up with surprise and delight. "What was that?" she asked, touching her throat. "That," Tom said, grinning, "was your first laugh." The moment was interrupted by an urgent message on Tom's tablet. The human scientists had finished analyzing the data the bright ones had shared about their technology. What they found was extraordinary and troubling. "Lyra," Tom said, his voice growing serious, "there's something I need to ask you about this data. These energy signatures in your defensive systems, they look like they're designed to fight something specific, something you haven't told us about yet." The light patterns on Lyra's skin shifted to darker colors, and her previous joy faded. She stood up, looking out at the stars with an expression Tom couldn't read. "There are things in our past," she said quietly, "that we haven't spoken of for centuries. Things we tried to forget." She turned back to Tom, her eyes carrying a weight he hadn't seen before. "Perhaps it's time we shared that story with you. But I warn you, you may wish we hadn't." The meeting room was darker than usual. Lyra had dimmed the lights, her own skin barely glowing as she activated the holographic display. Tom sat quietly, watching as three-dimensional images formed in the air between them. "This," Lyra said softly, "was our home world, Crystal Prime." The hologram showed a beautiful planet with 3 moons, its surface gleaming like diamonds under a purple sun. Cities of light stretched across continents, connected by bridges that seemed to be made of pure energy. "It was beautiful," Tom said. "Was?" Lyra repeated, the word heavy with pain. 300 years ago, they came. The hologram changed, showing massive ships entering the system. They were black as space itself, their surfaces covered in strange, shifting patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. "We called them the Devourers," Lyra continued, her voice steady, but her skin showing patterns of old fear. "They didn't want to communicate, didn't want to trade. They wanted only one thing: to consume." The hologram played out the invasion. The black ships unleashed weapons that ate through energy shields like acid through paper. Cities fell. The beautiful bridges collapsed. Millions of bright ones died in the first day alone. Our technology was advanced, but we had known peace for so long. We weren't prepared for their kind of warfare. Lyra's skin darkened with the memory. They didn't just attack our bodies. They attacked our light itself. Each bright one they killed had their inner light harvested. Tom felt sick. How did you survive? Some of us escaped. A few thousand ships, carrying barely 1 million of our people. We watched our home world die from space. The hologram showed Crystal Prime turning dark, its beautiful surface becoming black and lifeless. We've been running ever since, building hidden stations like this one, always afraid they'll find us again. Tom stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. After a moment, he spoke. Humanity knows something about surviving against impossible odds. He turned back to Lyra. Earth has faced its own disasters, wars, plagues, climate crisis. But each time, we adapted. We fought back. We survived. Lyra's skin showed a pattern he hadn't seen before, something between hope and disbelief. Your people are so young compared to ours, yet you speak of survival with such certainty. Because that's what humans do best, Tom explained. We adapt. We help each other. And we don't let fear of the past stop us from building a better future. He walked back to the hologram, pointing at the image of the Devourer ships. Your weapons, your defenses, they're all designed to fight them if they return, aren't they? Lyra nodded. We've spent centuries preparing, but we're still afraid. The Devourer's technology was like nothing we'd ever seen. They could adapt to our weapons, learn from each attack. Tom smiled slightly. Then maybe you need allies who know something about adaptation themselves. The light patterns on Lyra's skin shifted rapidly. Surprise, hope, fear, and something else mixing together. You would help us, even knowing the danger. That's another thing about humans, Tom said. We don't like bullies, no matter what galaxy they're from. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Lyra's skin went almost white with shock as she checked the emergency display. No, she whispered. After all these years, Tom looked at the display and felt his blood run cold. At the edge of their sensor range, a single black ship had appeared. Its surface rippled with those same eye-hurting patterns from the hologram. They found us, Lyra said, her voice trembling. The Devourers have returned. The station's command center was chaos. Bright ones rushed between control panels, their skin flashing with panic patterns. The giant screen showed the Devourer ship getting closer, its black surface seeming to swallow nearby starlight. All non-essential personnel to emergency shelters, Lyra ordered, her voice shaking but determined. Begin station evacuation procedures. Tom grabbed her arm gently. Wait, you're giving up the station already. You don't understand, Lyra said, her skin pulsing with fear. Where there's one Devourer ship, there are always more. We have to run. It's how we've survived. And how long will you keep running? Tom asked. He turned to his own communication device. Captain Reed, this is Tom. Is the Peace ready for combat? The reply came quickly. Armed and ready, sir. Just give the word. Lyra's eyes widened. Your ship is a diplomatic vessel. You can't fight them. Tom smiled grimly. Every Earth ship, even diplomatic ones, comes prepared for trouble. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. He looked around the command center. And I'm betting your station has a few surprises too. The Bright Ones Council appeared on several screens, their combined light patterns showing deep concern. We cannot risk open conflict, one elder said. The station must be evacuated. Representatives of Earth, another council member spoke. You should leave now, while you can. This is not your fight. Tom stood straighter. With all due respect, it became our fight the moment we shook hands. Humanity doesn't abandon its friends. Suddenly, Jack's voice came through Tom's communicator. "Sir, we're detecting something strange. The Devourer ship, it's broadcasting a signal, like it's calling for others." Lyra's skin went almost white. "Then we have even less time. Once their fleet arrives, we have to strike first," Tom interrupted. He turned to the council screens. "You've spent centuries developing weapons to fight them. Your station has defenses, doesn't it?" One council member's light pattern shifted slightly. A tell that Tom had learned meant hidden knowledge. "The crystal spear," the member said quietly. "But it's never been tested in combat. It might not work." "What's the crystal spear?" Tom asked. Lyra brought up a diagram on the main screen. "A weapon designed to turn the Devourer's light-eating technology against them. But using it would drain most of the station's power. If it fails, then we'll be helpless," a council member finished. Tom checked his data pad quickly. "The *Peace* can provide emergency power to the station. We've got enough juice to run life support for at least 6 hours." The council chambers fell silent. Tom could see the fear in their light patterns, centuries of running making them hesitate. But he also saw something else in some of the younger members, a tiny spark of hope. Lyra looked at the main screen, where the Devourer ship was now clearly visible. Its surface patterns seemed to mock them, rippling with confident menace. "I am tired of running," she said suddenly, her voice stronger. She turned to the council. "These humans offer us something we haven't had in centuries. A chance to fight back. I say we take it." The council erupted in argument, light patterns flashing rapidly. But before they could reach a decision, new alarms blared. "Multiple ships detecting at edge of sensor range." Jack's voice was urgent. 5. No, 7 Devourer vessels approaching fast." The council's arguing stopped. Tom looked at Lyra, seeing determination replace fear in her eyes. "We need a decision now," he said firmly. "Run and lose another home, or stand and fight beside us." Lyra stepped forward, her skin glowing with a new pattern, one that mixed fear with fierce resolve. "Council members, I move that we activate the crystal spear, and I pray to the ancient lights that our human friends' courage will help us remember how to be warriors again." The council room fell silent as they waited for the final vote that would decide not just the station's fate, but possibly the future of both their species. The council's vote was unanimous. For the first time in centuries, the Bright Ones would stand and fight. "Crystal spear powering up," Lyra announced, her hands dancing over the control panel. "Time to full charge. 3 minutes." Tom coordinated with the *Peace* through his communicator. "Captain Reed, move into position. We need to keep those ships busy until the weapon is ready." The space around the station erupted into battle. The *Peace* moved with surprising speed for a diplomatic vessel, its advanced shields flickering as it engaged the nearest Devourer ship. Brilliant beams of energy crossed the void between them. "Their shields are adapting to our weapons," Jack reported from the *Peace*. "Just like you warned us." "Lyra, keep changing frequencies," Tom ordered. "Don't let them learn your pattern." Lyra watched in amazement as the human ship danced through space, using maneuvers her people had never seen before. "How are you doing that?" she asked. "Humans learn space combat from video games," Tom said with a grim smile. "Sometimes being unpredictable is better than being perfect." The station shook as 2 more Devourer ships arrived, their strange weapons beginning to eat away at the outer defenses. Warning lights flashed across the command center. "Outer shield failing," a Bright One technician reported, his skin flashing with alarm patterns. "Inner shield at 60%. Crystal spear at 70% charge," Lyra announced. "We need more time." Tom made a quick decision. "Captain Reed, execute Maneuver Delta. We'll draw their fire." The *Peace* suddenly accelerated, diving between the station and the Devourer ships. Its shields blazed as it took hits meant for the station. "Hull damage on decks 3 and 4, Jack's voice crackled through the comm. "We can't take much more of this." Lyra's skin showed patterns of both worry and wonder. Your people risked their lives for us without hesitation. Why? Because that's what friends do, Tom said simply. How long until the weapon is ready? Crystal spear at 95%, Lyra reported. Then her skin flashed in alarm. Tom, look. The main screen showed 3 more Devourer ships emerging from deep space. The black vessels moved to surround the station, their surfaces rippling with those horrible patterns. This is it, Tom said. It's now or never. Crystal spear fully charged, Lyra announced. Peace asterisk. Clear the area, Tom ordered. Then he turned to Lyra. Fire when ready. Lyra's hands hesitated over the controls for just a moment. Centuries of fear warred with newfound courage in her light patterns. Then she pressed the sequence. The station hummed with power. Every light dimmed as energy rushed to the crystal spear. A brilliant beam of pure white light burst from the station's core, splitting into 8 smaller beams, each targeting a Devourer ship. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The black ships continued their approach. It's not working, someone whispered in fear. But Tom noticed something. Look at their surfaces. The eye-hurting patterns on the Devourer ships began to speed up, becoming frantic. The black surfaces started to crack, light pouring from within. The weapon, Lyra explained, her voice filled with wonder. It's overloading their light absorption technology, turning it back on them. One by one, the Devourer ships began to break apart, their dreaded technology becoming their undoing. The final explosion lit up space like a new sun being born. When the light faded, the command center was silent. The screen showed only empty space where the enemy fleet had been. We did it, Lyra whispered, her skin glowing with a joy pattern so bright it almost hurt to look at. After all these centuries, we finally did it. Tom smiled, watching as both humans and Bright Ones began to celebrate around them. No, he said softly. We did it, together. A day after the battle, the station buzzed with activity. Repair crews worked on damaged sections while engineers studied data from the crystal spear's successful deployment. But the biggest changes were happening in the hearts and minds of both species. Tom found Lyra in the observation deck, watching repair drones work outside the station. Her skin glowed with patterns he had never seen before, complex swirls of emotion that seemed to dance across her surface. Credit for your thoughts, he asked, using the human phrase that had become popular among the Bright Ones. I'm watching your repair crews work with ours, she said softly. Did you notice something strange? Tom looked out the window. Human engineers floated in space alongside Bright Ones, fixing damaged panels together. They seemed to be working well together. That's just it. Lyra turned to face him. My people, we've always worked alone. We've been alone for so long. We forgot what it was like to trust others. Her skin rippled with a pattern of revelation. Until you came. Sometimes it takes an outsider to help you see things differently, Tom said. It's more than that. Lyra walked to a nearby console and brought up battle footage. Watch this. The screen showed the moment when the Peace had placed itself between the station and the Devourer ships, taking heavy damage to protect the Bright Ones. Your ship could have escaped, Lyra said. Your people could have left us to our fate. It would have been logical. Her skin flickered with emotion. But you stayed. You fought for us. You were willing to die for us. That's what humans do, Tom replied simply. We protect our friends. Friends, Lyra repeated the word, her skin glowing brighter. We thought we knew what that meant. We have formal allies, trading partners. But you humans, she struggled to find the words. You make it personal. You laugh with us, share stories with us, risk your lives for us. You treat us like family. Tom smiled. Maybe that's what your people needed all along. Not just allies, but true friends. A group of young Bright Ones passed by outside the observation deck. They were trying to teach human crew members how to read light patterns, while the humans taught them how to play rock, paper, scissors. Their combined laughter, both human, and the musical sounds of Bright One joy, filled the corridor. "Look at them," Lyra said, her voice full of wonder. "A week ago, my people would never have shown such open emotion. We kept everything controlled, contained. We thought it made us stronger. And now I understand that there is strength in being open, in showing what you feel." Her skin suddenly blazed with patterns so complex and beautiful that Tom had to blink. "Your people taught us that it's okay to feel deeply, to care deeply." A message flashed on the console. The council requested their presence, but before they left, Lyra turned to Tom one more time. "When you first arrived, I thought we were letting in strangers," she said. "I never imagined." Her skin pulsed with emotion. "I never imagined we would find a species that would change us so profoundly. That would help us remember who we used to be, before fear changed us." Tom noticed something remarkable. A small drop of glowing liquid rolling down Lyra's cheek. A tear, but one that shimmered with inner light. "Lyra," he said gently, "you're crying." She touched the tear in wonder. "Another gift from your people," she whispered, "teaching us that it's okay to show our hearts, even if they glow differently than yours." Together, they walked toward the council chamber, two different species who had found something unexpected in each other. Not just allies against a common enemy, but a deeper understanding that would change both their civilizations forever. 1 month after the battle, Station Lightheart was transformed. Banners from both Earth and the Bright Ones hung in the grand ceremonial hall. Representatives from both species gathered for what would be a historic moment: the signing of the first official alliance between humans and the Bright Ones. Tom stood near the front of the hall, wearing his formal diplomatic uniform. Around him, hundreds of Bright Ones filled the room with their glowing patterns, creating a light show more beautiful than any aurora he had ever seen. Human delegates watched in awe as colors danced across the ceiling. "It's time," Lyra said, approaching him. She wore formal robes that shimmered with her inner light. But what struck Tom most was how differently she carried herself now, no longer haunted by fear, but standing tall with confidence. The Council of Bright Ones entered, their combined light patterns creating complex shapes in the air. They were followed by the human diplomatic delegation, led by Earth's ambassador. Both groups took their places at the ceremonial table. "For centuries," the head council member began, "we lived in shadows, running from our past. We forgot what it meant to stand proud among the stars." The elder's skin glowed with emotion. "But sometimes the universe has a way of sending us exactly what we need, even if we don't know we need it." The human ambassador stepped forward. "Earth extends its hand in friendship to the Bright Ones. Together, we have already faced and defeated a terrible enemy. But more importantly, we have discovered in each other something rare and precious: true understanding between different species." Lyra stepped up to the ceremonial table. As chief diplomat, she would sign first for her people, but as she reached for the light pen, her hand trembled slightly. "Lyra," Tom whispered in concern. She looked at him, and he saw that glowing tears were rolling down her cheeks, but her skin patterns showed not sadness, but overwhelming joy. "I never imagined this day would come," she said, her voice carrying through the silent hall. "I never imagined that after centuries of hiding, we would find not just allies, but friends who would teach us to laugh again, to cry again, to live fully again." Her words touched something deep in everyone present. Several young Bright Ones began to glow with patterns of pure emotion, while many humans wiped tears from their eyes. "When I was young," Lyra continued, her voice growing stronger, "I was taught that showing strong emotion made us weak, that we had to stay controlled and distant to survive." She looked around the room, at humans and Bright Ones standing together. "But our human friends showed us that true strength comes from connection, from caring, from being willing to fight for each other." She signed the treaty, her light pen leaving a trail of glowing script. The human ambassador signed next, and the hall erupted in celebration. Humans cheered while bright ones filled the air with patterns of joy. Tom felt a hand on his arm and turned to find Lyra beside him. "Thank you," she said softly, "for helping us remember who we are." "No," Tom replied with a smile. "Thank you for trusting us enough to let us in." Above them, through the station's transparent dome, the stars shone brightly. But they no longer seemed cold or distant. Instead, they promised new adventures, new discoveries, and most importantly, new friendships waiting to be found. "What happens now?" Tom asked. Lyra's skin glowed with a pattern he had learned to recognize as hope. "Now we build something new together, something neither of our species could create alone." She looked out at the celebrating crowd, where humans were trying to copy Bright One light patterns while Bright Ones attempted human dances. "Look at them," she said, her voice full of wonder. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes," Tom agreed, watching as two civilizations became one family among the stars. "This is just the beginning."